Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph,
I'm James.
and today we are discussing Hardware Wars.
We are back to talk about Hardware Wars.
Yeah.
We were just saying before we went live, it feels like it's been a minute since we've done this, but it's only been 2 weeks. We took last week off. There was no Data Link episode last week, but we took last week off because Ralph was out busy with a super cool project, and I've just been busy with life, and so we just needed to take last week. And it's strange because the 2 weeks used to be our regular schedule, but because for the last 6-8 months or so we've been doing every week since we introduced the Data Link episodes.
Yeah,
and when we've got shows on as well, I missed it. I missed it last week. How about you?
Yeah, and it's funny because this project I'm working on, I was up in LA and I was going to be done on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Done in the morning, but I wasn't going to be able to get back in time. I actually got back at like 7:40.
Yeah,
I got back like if you could have vamped for 10 minutes, I could have popped in.
I think that's the thing. If we'd known when you were going to be back, because it was travel and you can never really rely on those things. If we'd known that you were going to be back, I could have probably shuffled my plans a little bit. But as it was, I wasn't going to be around to do it anyway.
It's fine. I was gone for 4 days, 5 days, I think. And I was sleeping on a couch and it was like under 40 degrees and raining.
Oh, boo.
So like I got like no sleep because it was cold and it was loud rain.
Never come to England.
And then, well, no, I'm sure you had like the house I was in was probably built in like the 30s.
Okay.
So it was just loud.
Yeah.
And also, the couch was fine, but it was just I was right next to the front window. It's a whole thing. It doesn't matter. But the project went well. It's going to continue in early February. I'm thinking the first week of February. Awesome. We'll see if it interrupts this show, but so far so good.
Oh yeah, February could. It might.
I don't
know. Mandalorian's beginning of March, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, this is going to be another I'll just say it, like 4-day shoot. Like it's going to be It's not going to be. It's not going to be.
Not then.
As we move through the year, it's going to get probably a little bit more crazy.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Mandalorian, that's coming in March. And our other show, Invincipod, it sounds like we're going to get in a couple weeks
an
update on Amazon's Invincible, which is the original show. This is a spin-off of that show.
This is the spin-off show. And next week you'll get a spin-off of the spin-off. So Invincible, I've seen a bunch of things. I saw a load of news articles and stuff the other day, and I was like, oh cool, if we got a date. And I was like, no, they've announced that it will be back next year and that we'll be getting a date soon. I was like, that's just not news. We knew that already. I was like, come on, give it to me.
I need it to happen. Like if it happens during Bad Batch season, that's good.
Feels a bit quick. I think they probably want to mark it for a little bit longer.
Wait, when does Bad Batch start?
Like the beginning of January. It's in like a week and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon, whatever.
Yeah, they might just drop it and go, here you go, guys. And then we'll have to scramble again.
So if anybody needs to watch this Invincible and wants to listen to us, go to Invincipod. I don't even think I have a banner for that.
Let's say hi to some people because it's kicking off in the chat. So before we got here, Lord Vader was here and waiting for us. We didn't alter the deal. We're back. We're here. Don't worry. But then since then, Lord Vader's still here. Sarah Kelly's here. Hey, Sarah. And Stevie's here. We were trying to figure out if Lord Vader was a bot or not because it was just quotes to begin with. Doesn't seem to be. Because Derpy501st is here. Which again, with some things, but then it feels like they're having a conversation, which is lovely. You love to see it. Normally that happens like mid-episode where me and Ralph are in full stream and everyone else is having a conversation as well. So we don't get to see it as much, but hi guys. Thanks for joining us.
Derpy says I'm more excited for a Bad Batch in Ahsoka than Mando, honestly. I think for me, Ahsoka's the top of the list.
Yeah, same.
That for me, Mando, and then Bad Batch, because I like live action Star Wars more than
there's 6 Star Wars shows coming out next year. We're going to be covering 3 of them as regular episodes because it's 3 live action, 3 animated. It seems like. So you got Bad Batch, the middle school High Republic Young Jedi Knights show or whatever it's called. I can't remember. Which I'm excited to see. No. Acolyte is 2024. Skeleton's Crew is at the end of the year. So we'll be covering. We'll be covering Mando, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew.
Right.
And I
mean, I'm going to end up watching Bad Batch.
Exactly. We'll probably it'll either come up in
it.
regular episodes or we'll just do a data link at the end.
I think at the end of the season, we can do a data link.
Absolutely. I think that's
schedules permitting.
Yeah. Because that way, like if you're busy and stuff and miss a couple of episodes week to week, you can catch up. Yeah, it sounds good. I like the way that they're formatting the new Bad Batch season with like a double episode at the beginning, middle, and end, and then weekly after, like in between.
And it sounds like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about anything made by Lucasfilm today.
Right. We're covering our second and last, probably.
Second and I think probably last. But last episode 2 weeks ago, I'd picked Troops for us to cover, the seminal fan film from the 90s, and wrap with the OG. Like if Troops was sort of the special edition of fan films, this is the original trilogy of fan films.
Right. And you hadn't seen it, right?
I'd never seen it before. I've seen the DVD cover when it had a release over here, at least in the sort of early 2000s, I want to say. So I've seen the cover. I know some of the imagery. I understood the reference on the T-shirt that you're wearing, but I'd never actually watched it. I didn't realize that it was only 12 minutes long.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's
that's one of the reasons why I picked it. I just popped it on before we started recording, and it was great. Yeah. So let me tell you something about Hardware Wars.
An hour ago. Hit me.
So I was born in 77, and Hardware Wars, I don't even know how it was circulated, but the way I got it was we would go to the library. Okay. And at the library, you were able to rent VHS tapes, and they had Hardware Wars at the library to rent. And I would rent it all the time because like 4-year-old Ralph, 5-year-old Ralph thought this was the fucking funniest thing ever. Because it was like Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was like Star Wars, but not.
Yeah.
And at the time, there was nothing. It was like, this is like Empire Strikes Back.
You could barely even get Star Wars, right? At that time, like if this came out in 78, like there wasn't a home release of Star Wars in 78. Like it got re-released in movie theaters in 78, if I'm not mistaken, because there's the poster with the 1-year anniversary.
This might have also been available on like a Super 8 reel that you can put on your home projector.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I feel like I remember that as well.
Wow.
I could be wrong. But it was a weird thing that was circulated.
I was going to say,
there's no internet.
It sounds like it got actual distribution, but I don't know how that would happen.
It sounds like it got played at like maybe film festivals or something.
Probably.
Like it's
old school sci-fi cons, stuff like that. Like San Diego when it was still in a hotel ballroom, that sort of situation.
And what's great, I want to say that it was shown at a Comic-Con and was like officially like recognized by Lucas. Like
again, like Troops.
George Lucas loved it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with George is when a fan film was done right, and when it was basically, I think he liked the comedy ones more than the ones that were trying to be serious, because he's like, look, this isn't part of my stuff, but I really appreciate the humor and the comedy in it. Because the same thing with Troops, he sort of recognized that. And also this has a 1138 reference in it, so he's gonna have seen that and gone, oh cool, you guys get it.
So like for seeing it for the first time in after you've seen like countless fan films and stuff, this is 2022, we're hitting 2023, like how does it play for the first time for you?
I still thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of it, but there are moments like the going into the cantina. I was cracking up because I don't know what I was expecting. Like it's like Southern California sort of Mexican restaurant looking exterior.
Yeah.
And then they go
That's
in and
exactly,
it's
yeah.
just like a honky tonk bar. And it's just like,
But
you don't need to put aliens in this.
but what's strange is everybody seems to be wearing a wig. And Stevie was saying that all the women were wearing the same wig.
I mean,
like
I
a
believe
bushy
it.
top and straight back.
Yeah.
So like that's what made it weird.
I was cracking up at that. I immediately sent a link to friend of the pod Ed because it's the sort of shit that he would love. Just
Yeah.
it's deadpan. It is played very deadpan. The walking through like, look at all these freaks and weirdos, like, and it's like these are people. These are just people in a bar in 1978.
But then rolling up on ham salad and chinchilla, like sitting there, or chuchilla sitting there at the bar, they look way out of place, but it's such a great reveal.
Yeah, it's great. And the way that it's sort of cut like an extended trailer, like they're not, it's highlights.
Bizarre.
It's highlights of the entire film. And the way that it will just sort of yada yada over what we know as like longer scenes and moments is very good. It's like, there's our guy. Cool, moving on. Like it's great.
I think I'm assuming like the main joke of it is that Star Wars just came out. It was the biggest movie ever, had the greatest special effects ever, and was clearly won like every Academy Award, like technically. And so here's just that, but cheap.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're going to use irons and we're going to use whiskers, like
waffle irons, and
yeah. But that shot of the waffle iron opening with the tractor beam and the iron coming in, like that's my favorite shot. Cool.
My favorite shot is the droids walking through Tatooine and the woman who's clearly just on the beach with picking up her towel and walking off frame.
Yeah.
It's like they couldn't clear her before they started rolling, but as soon as they did, she was like, "I'm out. I don't want to be part of this."
But you gotta believe that's like was on purpose.
I have no idea.
You would have cut it. You would have cut it out if it wasn't on purpose. Like it's a great joke because it's not.
I think
it doesn't linger on it. It's just in the background.
Yep. No reference. No mention of it. I think if it wasn't intentional, they saw it and went, "That's very funny. Let's just leave it in."
All right.
All right. No, it's obviously of its time, but it still works. I think you have to know Star Wars inside and out for it to really play. But if you do, like everyone who's watching this podcast is gonna know at least like Star Wars 77, like inside and out.
Right.
It's dumb. It's that dumb funny.
It's really dumb.
It's really dumb.
Really dumb. And it's great. Like why 4Q2 is just the Tin Man with sunglasses. Like, I don't know. I don't know why.
They didn't try and make him gold. They didn't do anything. It was like, no, we've got a Tin Man costume laying around from a high school production of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this was shot in Southern California, Los Angeles area. I'm assuming they were looking for a robot costume and someone had that. And just the sunglasses are hilarious. What's funny about 4Q2, I think is his name. His voice sounds just like the new C-3PO. That's not Anthony Daniels.
Oh, okay.
So we were watching Lego Masters because it was a Star Wars one.
Mm-hmm. I think I've seen that. TV. Well, I've either seen that or the Australian one. I don't really watch Lego Masters.
Neither do I.
Liz's family watches Lego Masters Australia for some reason. So occasionally it's on just over there.
Like Will Arnett?
It's not Will Arnett. They've got some Australian hosts. And I mean there's a UK version as well that I've never seen, but I think I've seen either the US Star Wars special or the Australian Star Wars one. But
yeah, if you watch the American version, they did a Star Wars episode and it's not Anthony Daniels, and it's clearly not Anthony Daniels, but that voice, if you go look up that episode, that voice sounds like 4Q2, and I think it's 4Q2.
That sounds right.
And then Artie Deco is just
Artie Deco, yeah, it's great.
It's a vacuum.
It is, yeah.
the thing that baffles me the most about this, and I tried to look it up, I didn't really find anything because again I watched it last minute, is it's narrated by Paul Frees.
Okay.
Now Paul Frees is freaking huge.
Okay.
Like Paul Frees has done everything. So you've been on the Haunted Mansion before? He's the voice of the Haunted Mansion, the Ghost Host.
Oh wow.
He's Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Oh my god.
He's the Burgermeister in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Like if you look at Paul Frees, he's done everything. He's Ludwig von Drake from, you know, the Disney classic character, the duck who's like a psychologist, psychiatrist, scientist. Paul Frees is like,
so had he
done everything?
Had he done a bunch of this stuff before Hardware Wars? Okay.
This is 1978. I mean, what Haunted Mansion was like 1960, 1965, I think. But I mean, his voice is super recognizable. Like if you just look up Paul Frees, it's nuts.
It's gotta be like they did everything. They had probably a temp track narrator, and then they were just like, we can get Paul Frees. Let's do it. Let's use this guy.
Yeah. So Ernie Fosselius, who directed it, I believe is a sound guy.
Okay.
He works in sound. And I have
the whole thing. The whole thing is ADR and like, comedically bad. I think it's like bad by intent.
He'd gone on to do work for like, he worked on Spaceballs in the sound department. There's a bunch of movies he did in the sound department, but the one I always notice while watching the end credits is Ed Wood. He did the sound, the sound design or something in Ed Wood. So he's gone on to do stuff. Like, I don't know if he was working with Lucasfilm, but I know he's a sound guy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this is farting around with sounds. Like like visually looks super cheap, and I think that's on purpose.
I think so.
But then there's a lot of sound effects in it, and I have a feeling that
that's all him.
They had he probably was working on something with Paul Frees and had him read.
Yeah, possibly, or at least knew him through contacts. Like, yeah. That's cool. That's very cool. It wouldn't surprise me if he'd done some stuff with Lucasfilm. Obviously, sound department over there with Ben Burt probably didn't need any extra help, but it wouldn't surprise me. And if George had seen this and liked this, like we know that he does hire these people, or like people in his sphere do hire these guys when they like something.
Like the dude that did the deep fakes.
Kevin Rubio from Troops, like he went on and did some stuff with Lucasfilm, like writing comics and stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me. It's pretty cool. And the like in 1978 having the 1138 reference on the Millennium Falcon stand-in, like as on the Speedo, it's one of those things that's like, I know this guy gets it, because up until that point I was like, is this made by people who loved Star Wars and just want to do a fun send-up, or is this made by people who are just like, Star Wars is shit, let's just parody the hell out of it? Like, because
I think
it could have gone other way, but like when you see things like that, it's like, oh no, this is people who with absolute love of this property.
Right. So we've seen a Hardware Wars reference in a Star Wars movie. Rian Johnson has that shot of an iron that looks like it's a landing ship, and then you find out it's just where they're stealing the clothes, like it's a Star Destroyer like laundry room. Yeah,
which he has confirmed is a reference to Hardware Wars.
Right, because it's like the exact same style of iron. And watching this, I was like, I wonder if there's anybody out there, and it would be Rian Johnson, who we just celebrated the 5-year anniversary of
this month, like this last week, it's been 5 years since this, it's been 8 years since this, it's been 6 years since this. I was like, okay, cool, yep. All 4 of those movies did come out like in the same time frame. Yeah.
And like one of the things that was it you tweeting about, like how it should be, like he should get a series, like give Rian Johnson a series.
Yeah, that was last night, because there was an interview, because obviously he's on the press circuit at the moment for Glass Onion, and the Star Wars question comes up. I can't wait.
It's my favorite movie this year.
Tomorrow, I think, on Netflix.
Yeah, for you probably. For us in 2 days. It's the 23rd here, so
I think it is the
pops.
23rd. Yeah, dates are a blur to me.
But one of the things with
on that. I'm sorry. In that interview, that's where it came up, where he was like, it has been talked about with Lucasfilm that potentially do it as a series. And
that's the thing. I feel
down
like
for it. Potentially, it sounds like that. I think it's more likely.
Last Jedi, he felt like he had one chance to do a Star Wars, and he wanted to put everything in it.
Yeah,
like there's so much he wanted to do because that was his one shot.
Yeah,
and I feel like it kind of gets a little long.
He still talks about it, which is really nice considering all the hate and everything that movie gets, and the discourse that is created amongst Star Wars fans. It's still really nice, and like it's nice to hear him say, "It's still the crowning achievement of my career. That was still my favorite production ever that he's done," which is great because a lot of people could see that and go, yeah, I'm going to just distance myself and maybe I won't talk about it. Maybe this, maybe that. It's like he's still proud of everything that he did, which is like cool. It might not all work for everyone. And yeah, I agree with you that there is too much in there, but it's
if
great.
He gets a series,
exactly.
He can give it time to breathe and not just try to jam everything in, including hardware word references. But if he does a series, I would love to see him somehow make a planet called basketball, but like an orange planet.
Yep.
Like with a Mustafar where it's like
with
orange,
some lines, like
maybe some or like a ring around, like rings around it, but change the name enough so it doesn't just sound like basketball. But
it's easily done. You can like portmanteau it sort of thing.
I mean, even if in Last Jedi, who knows, maybe one of the moons in the background that no one ever noticed is actually just a basketball.
Yeah, anything like that. In the same way that in the Battle of Coruscant in Revenge of the Sith, there is a kitchen sink that comes off of one of those ships, sort of thing.
Right.
You're never gonna see it, or R2-D2 in Star Trek. Like you'll never see it. Things like that. It's like is
it a shoe or it's a potato? They use potatoes in
the Astro Chase,
which Hardware Wars predates Empire Strikes Back, yet they had a sort of an asteroid chase with the stuff hitting it.
Yeah, it was like instead of
did Lucas see that and be like, oh, the Millennium Falcon in an asteroid field?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think by 78 they were already there. No, I think the closest. I think the one that what they're going for is like when they come into Alderaan and they're sort of getting hit by some rocks and stuff. But
it takes place after.
It's weird. They flip the TIE fighters and the asteroids from like either side of the Death Star.
Right.
For hardware.
So this it might be a mistake, or just because in 1977 you had to go to the movie theater to see it.
That was what I was going to ask. Like there's snippets of dialogue in this that are exact lines from Star Wars, and then there's obviously ones that they've altered. And okay, so there was a novelization out, and I'm sure that you could probably access the script somehow, especially if he's working sort of in or next to the industry. But yet most of this is gonna have to be done from memory.
Yeah,
like in 78 as well. It's go see the film a bunch of times, make notes. Like, what do you remember? What scenes do you remember? What stands out? Because they're the ones that they hit. It's all the shots that people talk about.
Unless he had like a script, because if Fluke says, "What's the matter? Did you feel a tremor in the Force that felt like, a million people crying out in terror in this suddenly silence?" And he goes, "No, just a headache." A, that's really funny.
Yeah.
And B, like he got the dialogue like spot on.
There's a few lines like that I'm like, that's too specific to be a coincidence. But again, it could just be that they're in the theater and they just make some notes, write down that line quickly.
Right.
It could be that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess the TIE fighters and the asteroids are swapped, or the pieces of Alderaan or basketball are swapped. Yeah. But but I love that she's sitting there. She has the cinnamon rolls on her head. Classic. Like when my mom would get donuts, she would always hold that.
Always.
Like,
always.
yeah. But like, and that's like something you've seen probably since this came out, but it's like
I think everyone's done it at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love when she's sitting there. Darth Nader, who's I think a play on Ralph Nader, who was big at the time.
Yeah.
Like always like a third party candidate that would mess
I
up
know the
elections or
name.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when she's sitting there chatting with him and she says, what is he even saying?
It's the looks
like nobody
to the camera.
understands him.
The Ben, I can't. What's the
Augie Ben Doggy?
Augie Ben Doggy does the same thing later on. It's like, I don't know what you're saying. Look to camera. I don't know what he's saying. It's very good.
But I like that she's sitting there and they have a TV monitor in the set, and behind it is a hanging basketball. So when it explodes, which you can see the charge that explodes the basketball, like the smoke comes pouring into the room outside. It's like so, like they had to have done this so quick and so cheap.
Oh yeah, it's like the sort of thing that you could do in an afternoon, probably. Like, yeah.
So it's like I don't know what it was, why it was made, what the purpose was, because it wasn't VHS and it wasn't internet. Like if we make a fan film now, I could put that on the internet and everyone could check it out. But
it could be up on the channel in an hour. Like
these guys had to like have like a reel of film to pass around.
Well, that's it. Like they would have been shooting this on film as well, which is wild.
Probably 8mm, or
I was gonna say,
if maybe 16, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't aged well, the film, like the transfer. But
no. And in 97 they did a special edition, which I have a VHS of, but I'm not like they add some CG stuff that's kind of funny. They mimic the shot of the special edition of the X-Wings, like panning around the X-Wings.
Okay.
But it's those corkscrews that you stick in and pull the thing up. So it's CG, those like panning, and then the things come out. The sides of the corkscrew
I like that.
come
That's
out.
fun.
I'm like, oh, it's pretty good, but also you kind of like there's a little bit of stuff that you lose the charm of it.
That's kind of like the U-wings from Rogue One.
Yeah,
that's kind of how those wings open. Huh.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't know, Gareth. The thing is, Gareth Edwards also around my age.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who would have
the original. He knows the original Star Wars backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
If I ever see him again, I will ask him about Hardware Wars.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that does look. But I mean, that was a '97 edition, so I don't know if he would be like into the '97 edition.
But someone in the art department could quite easily have seen that and gone.
But like when 4Q2 and RT Deco leave I guess the Tantive, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. It's just the tape that ejects and pops out. Like I remember that in the special edition, they have a cassette tape sticking out of the sand, and it's like unspooling as they're walking away from it. But because the camera wasn't locked off, like the tape is like shifting around, and it's like they're just like, fuck it. No, this is Hardware Wars.
Yeah, it could look shit.
Yeah. So maybe it's worth looking at. If you get a chance, look up Hardware Wars Special Edition. I think they changed the graphics. Like the "May the Farce be with you" graphic is like really janky and like wobbly as it like flies out into the distance. Like everything is done on a shoestring budget. You know that they did the negative scratches for all the laser blasts and stuff.
I was gonna bring that up because like it seems like this winter we're getting like a slew of filmmakers making movies about filmmaking, like more than normal. Like Spielberg just had his one. Everyone seems to have those movies, and it's like looking back on their childhoods and the magic of cinema. And it's like, this is one of those. They weren't kids, obviously, when they were making it, but this is the equivalent of those kids making movies and doing those negative scratches, like having to go in manually and do all of this stuff.
Michael,
and it's just fun seeing
Michael Giacchino. You look at Michael Giacchino's, his brother directed the behind the scenes
by Night.
Werewolf by Night, and it shows Michael's old footage where he did negative scratches. Like that was the thing you did.
That was how you did like gunshots and laser blasts.
That's so weird.
It's so much effort, and it's like to go from that to a guy who does a deep fake of Luke and then gets hired by like Lucasfilm, like there is a through line between those two things. Like it's pretty
and it
impressive.
all advanced so quickly.
Yeah,
it all advanced so quickly. Like if you look at the movie Tron,
like we've had cinema for 100 years, like, and you look at in the last 50 of that, like 40, 50 of that is all of this has changed so much.
The computer effects of Tron, you look at those and they're super primitive. 8 years later is the water tentacle from Abyss.
That's crazy.
In 8 years, like that's where computer graphics jump.
Yeah. And then 4 years after that is Jurassic Park, which you know, it's yeah.
So it's crazy how from 1936, when I was the old Flash Gordon serials, you've used negative scratches, and Michael and Ernie Fosselius in like 1978 are still doing negative scratches. Like that's a huge amount of time. That's like 40 years of we have negative scratches as sort of the way to do lasers. I mean, there were some advances and stuff.
Tron to now, like you think about the difference between Tron and today, the equivalent. It's like there's no comparison.
Yeah. Jeremy Kelly's here.
Jeremy's here. Scott D's also here.
Scott D asks, would you ever stretch the definition of what live action Star Wars is and do Star Crash? I know you love it, Ralph. I do love Star Crash, and I have wondered about doing Star Crash. Like, as far as it's essentially one of these movies that came out after Star Wars. It's like a ripoff.
Like one of the Battle Stars and things like that. Yeah. Humanoid
and one of those.
I knew the name. Yeah.
I think now that we have Data Link,
it's a data link.
It could be put in there.
Yeah.
And I feel like from now on, like live action Star Wars will, if we do fan films, would be data link. But I feel like Hardware Wars and
we had these two.
Troops are so like acknowledged by George Lucas himself that
I think that is the difference. And like looking at the two, they're the only two that would jump to my mind that I'd be like, they deserve to be on the main list.
Yeah.
That's not to take away from the others, because I mean, you look at the effects of some of the stuff that people are putting out today, and it's as good as most things that you'd see on TV, which is very impressive.
Right. I don't know if I have much more to say about Hardware Wars. I mean, it's a classic.
It is.
And it's stupid, but it's enjoyable.
It's really stupid. I don't think the comedy would play for everyone. But it might. Like it's dumb enough, and I think you get the right person, and they're still gonna go, "Yep, that's a really good 12-minute sketch." And beyond that, I think it would probably start to lose steam, and you'd be like, "All right, I get it now." But like
Chichilla the Wookiee monster is amazing.
Yeah, and it's a good looking Muppet. Like,
it looks just like Cookie Monster, and I think I want to make like a shirt of that or something.
Cool.
But there's probably one where someone did a mashup and didn't know about Hardware Wars. This shirt, my salad shirt. I mean, ham salad, huge joke when I was a kid. Like that was like in my family, like that was like the big joke was ham salad. Like ham salad was great. I love ham salad. It was the funniest thing ever.
I think he has
his name's not Han Solo. It's Ham Salad. It's so he has 2 lines.
He has 2 lines, and he's just like he's got the same look on his face the whole time. Like he more than anyone else just looks stoned out of his mind.
He just looks pissed. He looks so mad. He just looks like he doesn't want to be there. It's almost like it's like the perfect casting
for Harrison Ford,
like that's Harrison Ford's like whole demeanor is ham salad. He just looks seriously pissed. And I want to say that guy's name. I know his last name's Knickerbocker, and I think I found him on Twitter and follow him, but I don't know. Maybe we can get him on here.
Oh, that'd be
I mean,
amazing.
if we can have a chat with ham
Ham
salad,
salad.
because
I
he
mean,
doesn't have any lines. Like no one really has lines in there. If they do, they're all like dubbed.
Luke's are the best because they play up the whiny kid so much. Like
Yeah,
everything is like, oh man, oh, it's just like he's just
it's like Leave It to Beaver.
yeah.
They make him a clean cut kid.
Yeah, he's just a dope, just an idiot kid. Like, yeah, it's very good.
He gets, but things like when he gets the flashlight, it's straight up flat, nothing on it.
He
and
has
then
to
the room
step back
starts filling
into
with
the
smoke.
shadows. Yeah, he literally has to step back into the darkest point of the room. But it looks fine because they fill it with smoke. It looks good.
Jay Pike says they showed Hardware Wars in my elementary school when I was a kid multiple times. So good. Great review. I think it happened at my school too, because it was at the library. For some reason, that's where you got it, was at the library.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. Like, you couldn't find it at like a video store. You could find it at the library. And I don't, and I know there was Ernie Fosselius did another one called Pork Lips Now.
Oh wow, okay.
And I think there was a Close Encounters one as well. And I've never seen those.
No.
So
maybe a future data link potentially will do it.
Yeah.
I
mean, we get a few of these.
It's I mean, he's got a niche, he's got his thing, and if he's already like working in the industry, I'm sure he could just do it. But like for this, they built 3 sets, and it's not even like a set; it's like a backdrop.
Oh my god! Right.
But the rest of it is a garage. They're just in someone's garage, just walking around. It's like, that'll do. You don't need to. Let's just go to the beach.
But for the Death Star, they had like the long lights, the sort of horizontal or vertical lights, but it was just like a piece of construction paper. Jay Pike said when he watched it, it was on film, like a reel to reel. Like, yeah, I think you could get it that way too. That's probably where I first saw it.
Yeah,
was on there. Like a friend had it or something. And
what perfect film to show in schools though. Like if it's your, I don't know, your end of term, or you've got a substitute teacher or something like that, it's just chuck it on because it's funny and irreverent, and about something that is current. So everyone's going to be engaged and watch it. But then it's the sort of thing that it's like, it could spark imaginations. It's the sort of thing that I think they should be showing more of this sort of stuff, because it's like, you can do this. It's not like showing someone Star Wars and it going, I want to do that one day. Yeah. I need to figure out how these things are done, maybe break into an industry. It's, I see Hardware Wars and you go, I could do that. These kids and kids in schools could say, I could do that. And that's how you develop that talent. And it's
what's great is it's like, you can, like, it is just a flashlight. The lightsaber is just a flashlight, and it's grown-ups doing that thing. And it's like, well, we're all howling. This is hilarious. I have this stuff at home. Like literally, it's a vacuum cleaner. It's a robot. And that lets you be like, okay, what do I have in my house that could double as something else?
That's exactly what it does.
Really,
you don't need props.
And if adults can make something this stupid, like, this is really bad jokes.
Yep.
But because you know it's stupid, you let yourself go.
Yeah.
You're allowed to enjoy it. And I mean,
it's I think it's just as you said, it's not giving a shit, like having to, like, I'm gonna walk around a beach that is clearly still got public people on it in this stupid ass costume, dragging a vacuum cleaner behind me. But like, I don't care. No one cares. I'm gonna drive my dune buggy down this road, and it's just gonna be me. Then I'm gonna turn around, pick up the other cast members, and drive down the same exact road,
the same one,
without moving the camera. We're just gonna do the same path.
It's like they train. So I feel like the joke there is that they were trying to hide the wheels behind the little mound.
They even try.
But then when it like kept going, they're like, "That's kind of funny. We'll just leave it in."
Yeah.
It's almost like they wanted to ruin their own illusions. Yeah. Like they like the fact that
they had one air conditioner unit that they were using as a stormtrooper, and when they just sort of started kicking him in on the Death Star, like it's like they shoot it and then it falls over and then they just start kicking and wailing on it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the egg beater, the iron, etc. All this stuff is in your house.
Yeah.
all this stuff in
Yeah.
your house.
And if you don't have those things, use something else. It doesn't matter. That's the point of it. It's like none of that shit matters to make a fun skit.
Like a fan film. Like if you make like fan films are a great gateway, like to help like get your stuff seen, especially now. Like you can get it could get shown to like people around the world immediately, and then that can launch you into doing
Just
stuff
go to
where you're like,
festivals,
okay,
you can do those
let's
sorts
do
of
real
things.
productions and let's actually create real props.
All it needs is to just show it to the right people, and if there's something there, if they see something like it could look like shit, but if you've got some cool camera moves or you've got a good bit of sound design in there or something like that, it doesn't matter. Whatever your specialty is, like, great, do it. Like, show that shit off.
Yeah. The fact that this got out is amazing. I'm glad it exists on the internet now. It's something that's like kind of an anomaly. I don't know. I never saw Pork Lips Now.
No, I didn't even know about this.
One. Yeah,
Hardware Wars is iconic though. It's been around, and it's just I'm sure that it is because we're in sort of deep into Star Wars, but it's the sort of thing that people just seem to know about. Yeah. It's good stuff. I'm glad that I've watched it. I can't see myself revisiting it. I can't see myself it had been probably 20 years since I'd watched Troops a couple of weeks ago. And I can't see myself revisiting this. But if someone ever said, "Oh, Hardware Wars, I've never seen that," I'd happily sit them down and like watch it and giggle for 12 minutes.
It's not. It was one of those things we rented like I don't know, like once a month because I was a kid, and like I must have watched it over and over again because I don't remember it being so short.
Well, that's it. Every time doesn't matter when you're a kid. Like you just don't know how long things are.
Yeah. All right. Jeremy Kelly says I ended up teaching history, but still enjoy being in that class. He says one time we made a box puppet talk and we thought
you were at ILM.
ILM.
Amazing.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know, Jeremy, your teacher show Hardware Wars. Like, I don't know if I don't think you're still doing classes. You might be on Christmas break, but the next time you have a big break coming up, like
last day of school stuff,
put it on for the kids.
Absolutely.
See what they think.
I'd be really interested to see what kids think of this. I bet they would hate it.
But but as long as one kid likes it,
that's all you need.
Because here's the thing. So I heard recently, like, the old Jingle Bells, Batman smells Robin laid an egg, right?
Yeah.
And you're in England, and you know about that.
Yeah, of course.
I found out this week where that came from.
Okay.
The genesis of it.
Hit me.
So apparently people were doing like parody lyrics of Jingle Bells for a long time.
Yeah.
And back in 1966, Batman became this phenomenon on TV with the Adam West series. And they pinpointed it down to a school in San Diego.
Huh.
A group of kids in San Diego came up with these lyrics and would sing it a lot. The thing is, San Diego is a military town. And a lot of those kids,
military families,
would be moved from school to school and spread it to the point where just now everybody knows it. So what I'm saying is, Jeremy Kelly, show Hardware Wars in class. Get back to us on this. Maybe we can have you on to discuss how it went over with the kids. Like we could do like a data link episode and maybe discuss like the special edition or something.
We should all show it to someone who's never seen it before.
Right. Let's do it.
I like that.
Let's do it and just start spreading it. But I'm curious to see what a kid nowadays would think of it, because when I was a kid, there was Star Wars and then that's it.
Yeah.
And so with kids who have like a Star Wars movie every year and like 6 TV shows this coming year, I'm wondering if they would be okay with it, or if they'd be angry for making fun of Star Wars.
Maybe
because Star Wars is so precious now that you can't.
Or they'd be like, I could just fire up TikTok and do things like so much better than this. I'm just like
dancing, Star Wars dancing characters.
You keep your TikTok.
But I think that would be fun. I don't know if
I do. I think
Joey
it'd be
would
really
want
good.
to come on, but I'd like tweet at us or whatever. Let us know if you end up showing them Hardware Wars.
Yeah.
And what the reaction.
If you don't want to come on, if you do that, just send us a report and we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will revisit Hardware Wars down the line somewhere.
100%. And then dude, Star Crash. I love Star Crash. Star Crash is one of the I think better Star Wars ripoffs.
Okay.
But I think maybe like during the summer, if we don't have like a show that we're covering every week, maybe we do a summer series for data links, like just do a bunch of data links. Star Wars ripoffs. So that'd be a lot of fun. Cool. So I'm all for that. So I guess that's all we got. We don't have much to. It's a 12-minute short. Yeah. And there's no speculating or lore or anything really we need to discuss. So
it's all good.
I think we're good. So I think we may be back next week for a data link for those of you on the auto feed.
Yeah, we don't have anything planned. We don't have anything that we're going to cover. But if we are back, we should be back. I would have thought, unless something goes drastically wrong. We should be back next week, and I think we're just going to do like an end of year wrap up. Like we're going to talk about everything that's come out this year, Star Wars, like an end of year Star Wars wrap up. It'll be very, very casual, a good sort of just chat. So yeah, if you're watching along or if you're listening to this and want to watch next week with us, be a part of the conversation. Tell us what you really liked about the year. Look back on some things that we talked about, see if we reevaluate them in any different ways, that sort of thing. It'll be a nice casual chat for about an hour or so. I think it'd be a nice way to end the year.
Okay. And then Jeremy says he can't tweet it because he deleted Twitter. That's fine. I'm on Hive, but I haven't seen any activity on there for a while. I don't know if anybody's there, if it's broken or what.
I couldn't tell if it was broken or not. I opened it up and nothing had been updated for like 5 days, and it didn't look like anyone had hived.
Send an email to liveactionsw@gmail.com. We don't really talk about that a lot because
Instagram. We're on Instagram as well. You can send us messages there.
Yeah. And then in 2 weeks is James's pick.
Yeah, which I don't have yet.
Uh-oh.
I completely forgot.
Crazy off the rails.
I could look for something right now. We've got a bit of time. Let's have a look. Do you want to vamp?
Banner while we do that. So head over to liveactionstarwars.com. That's YouTube. If you're not subscribed there, please subscribe. If you want to check out my show, Speaking of Werewolf by Night, I had an interview with Michael Giacchino on Cue the Music. That's at Cue the Music Podcast on YouTube. And Invincipod, at Invincipod on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere. Because we will be talking about Invincible. I'm really curious what our timeline is going to be if we're doing double duty, but hopefully Invincible season 2 is as short as season 1, which was I
think it will be because they've confirmed a season 2 and 3, so I think that they'll probably stick to the same amount of time. And we'll do it week to week, no matter how they release it.
Invincipod used to just be an audio podcast. And I think the last episode we did, we had the StreamYard here. And so we did that as a video.
We did.
And now Invincipod from here on out, I'm assuming we're going to do it the same way, live. Yeah. I've created opening and closing graphics for it, and we're all ready to pop. If you want to, do you want to see what that looks like, everybody? This is a treat for the. I won't show the beginning and stuff, but here is the Invincipod. This is what we look like when we do Invincipod.
It's our Invincipod frame. It's cool. Nice. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. And also it's the 20th anniversary of the comic, isn't it? Next year.
2023, yeah.
So that's super cool. It makes sense why they would hold it off for that. We were gonna do it at some point in the year, but we just never did. I reread and then read past where I'd got to in my original read. So I read the whole series like after the show, and I was sort of doing it in hopes that by the time I was done, we'd have a date for the new season, but we never did. So it's
been 2 years.
Yeah, will have been by the time we get it, I think.
We haven't done an Invincipod since we started live action Star Wars. Because we're just waiting.
Weird stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like no time at all, but it also feels like everything has changed in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check that out. Invincipod.com.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have a pick. So in 2 weeks' time, there was something that came out that everyone has access to, presumably, during the Andor season, and it was just like, okay, that's something that we would cover, but we haven't got to it because we've got Andor to talk about, and that's sort of more focused. On Netflix, there was a documentary about the 501st called Heroes of the Empire.
Okay.
That I've put on my list as soon as it came out, and I've not touched it. I've not looked at it at all.
I'm wondering if I've seen that.
So I don't know if it's new or if it's something that has just come out onto Netflix. But I've had it on my list, and we're talking about fan films the last couple of episodes. We'll talk about the fan group who do a lot of good work, and I really want to see what this documentary is actually all about, because I don't really know anything about it. I just saw it and I was like, yep, that's cool, that can go on the list.
I've seen a 501st documentary. I don't know if it's this one, but it was pretty cool. If it's the one I saw.
Great.
So yeah, that's great. That'll be 2 weeks on all audio feeds and YouTube. And next week we'll do a year-end wrap-up on Data Link.
Yeah. And then hopefully by then we'll have some news about when some other things are happening. But we'll see. Yeah. Cool. Right. Until next week for viewers, and until 2 weeks for audio only people. Have a very happy holidays. Enjoy Christmas and whatever you celebrate, however you celebrate it. And yeah, don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.